regular basis through the new media, we hear from young people across the country about every move that is made in Washington, D.C. We wanted to bring many of them to the table so that we could have a conversation, so that when I go to the table later today, I can be fresh and current in what their thinking is and what they're hearing.
And there are a lot of people around this country who are talking about your generation and what should happen with your future and how we should invest or cut without talking to you all. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you all are involved in the conversation about how you want your future to look. We are committed to making sure that we invest in your future.
In my generation, from the burden of debt that our spending habits coupled with our habits of cutting taxes repeatedly, more so than we can afford, have added up to over the last decade.
This is about you. Now, so I want to hear from each one of you, okay? So let's just go around.
And when I think about education, I think about where we start and from the very beginning. And in a poor state, in a poor school district like most are in Mississippi, you become almost completely dependent and reliant on federal funding. And so if we can't lay a strong and solid groundwork and foundation from the beginning, then we can't even begin to discuss post-secondary education or moving forward.
We also need our leaders, and that's why I appreciate your leadership and also President Obama's leadership to invest in programs like the Pell Grant and programs like work study, so that students can provide for themselves and can be their own advocates when it comes to the work that they're doing in their communities.
Workers across America didn't create this financial crisis. We were trying to keep up with the lack of wages, the lack of jobs. We took on debt. College debt is going to cripple our generation. It's the highest amongst any generation among millennials.
So my stake is supporting public education, supporting the public institutions that really help our families and really make it possible for, I'm a recent grad, I have a job, and I'm very fortunate for that. And I think public institutions are the sole contributing factor to that, so thank you very much.
More seriously, it's about budget cuts. I have the privilege of going to a private school, and even then, I get grants, but I have to work 2 jobs, and I really can't balance that much with extracurriculars. And people get to study for those 7 hours while I'm 7 hours working, so it affects my education. And the thing about budget cuts, you shouldn't be cutting education. People shouldn't have our future lawyers, or engineers, or doctors. They shouldn't be dropping out because the budget cuts or higher tuition costs.
And I would just lastly like to say, in the United States, we only have 300 million, 400 million people, and we're now competing against countries that have over 1 billion people in their country. So we need every single student, person in the United States equipped and ready to go to be competitive in the 21st century.
I'm excited that you're here because I think it's so important that we hear directly from you. I mean, we're making decisions that are about you, and we're, as my colleagues have said, using you and your voice, but we need to really reflect your voice, and you've helped us to do that here today.
You all have been so magnificent and so great. Let's meet again, okay? We thank you all for joining us as well this morning.
Leader Pelosi, one of our leaders.
Yesterday.